In this video, I'll be teaching you how to blend watercolor paints using 3 different techniques. Technique 1 is where you have 2 colors that you want to blend that belong to 2 different families. You'll have to apply them on either sides and then work on merging the 2. I will be using 2 different colors to display this, lemon yellow and Prussian blue. We'll start with a clean brush. I am using a round number 4 brush here. You can use anything in that range, anything that you're comfortable with. Whatever it is, always remember to swirl and take the paint. Swirl and take it. This gives your brush a pointed tip, using which you can very neatly color the edges. Wash your brush nice and clean. Make sure no color is left. You can use a napkin, a tissue paper, anything to remove the excess water and to ensure that no color is remaining in the brush. Now I am taking Prussian blue. Leave sufficient white paper gap between the 2 colors. Again, wash your brush nice and clean. Make sure there's no color left. Now just give a water wash in the middle region. Make sure you're not applying too much of water. As you can see, there's kind of a pool of water being created in the edge. Just dab and remove the excess water. Use yellow and move towards blue. Always remember, you start with the lighter shade and move towards the darker shade because it's always easier to do it that way, because if you start from the other way around, it might just eat up all the yellow region, the lighter region. So always start from the lighter region and move towards the darker. As you can see, blue is merging into yellow, forming green in between. Let's try and give it a nice gradient look. Another tip here is to not overdo this, which will harm the paper texture, and also always mind the direction of the strokes. That's technique 1. Now let's see the technique number 2. This is used when the colors that you want to blend belong to the same family. You give the first layer of the lighter shade and a second layer of the darker color and then blend the 2. I am going to use crimson red and vermilion or the scarlet red for this technique. Here the scarlet red will be used as the lighter shade and crimson red as the darker one. I am going to take slightly more than usual amount of water for the first layer here. Be quick as you apply. Again, always swirl the paintbrush as you take the paint from your palette. Layer 1 is now ready. Wash your brush. I can't stress this enough, it's always important that you have a clean brush. Only then will the colors remain fresh. While the first layer hasn't still completely dried, I am going to apply the second layer, the darker shade, the crimson red. It is always better to maintain a 3:4 proportion between the darker to the lighter side, because it's easier that way. The lighter side, once lost, is just gone. In case you want to add more depth or the darker shade, you can always add it later. I am taking some scarlet red again to fill in the middle region so that we get a gradual gradient blend. Like I said, it's always safer to have a larger portion of lighter shade in comparison to the darker shade. Also try and move from the lighter to the darker region, not the other way around. We have now successfully blended two colors. I would like to add in more depth to this. I'm using the Prussian blue that we used in the first technique. Prussian blue when mixed with crimson red gives a dark shade of purple. I just have a very thin strip of this color. Wash the brush completely and get rid of excess water. Now there's no color in the brush, it's just water that I'm applying. That is helping with the blending. Again, excessive water could damage the surface of the paper. Mind the direction of the strokes. I'm slightly expanding the area of the darker shade. Maintain the direction of the strokes, vertical or horizontal. Don't use both of them together. So that's technique 2. Coming to the third technique in this video. This is rather different from the first two in the sense that the first two were more controlled techniques. This is more of a fun to see visual treat kind of technique that employs the property of water and watercolors. Let's start by giving a layer of water. Again, make sure that your brush does not contain too much of water. We just need enough water to give a glossy look. It shouldn't form pools around the edges. I'm taking cobalt blue. While the paper is still wet, start with the colors. That's the key for this technique, that you've got to be super quick. Just give a quick layer of water wash on the paper and start with the colors. It is as though you're dabbing with the brush. I am continuously alternating between paint and lift motion. Unlike the earlier two techniques, you're not really trying to get an even blend here. You're rather exploiting the property of water to get the blending done. You can add some kind of direction to this by lifting your paperboard. Another important point here is that you need to use highly saturated colors because this is more of a one-time kind of technique. Once done, you cannot really afford to redo it. So use saturated colors because once it dries, it is going to have a duller look. So go for saturated colors. So that was technique number 3. You can add in more details to this, like add in stars or silhouettes to make a painting out of this, like the one I've done here. You can try out these techniques on different shapes and different areas to get a hold of it. You can also use them as backgrounds for greeting cards, bookmarks, or even make a painting out of it, like the one here. So those were a few techniques that I use for blending watercolors. I hope you liked it. Do let me know in the comment section. Thank you.